Hello, everybody. All right. So now with that out of the way, we've reached the middle of the week here, everybody. So it's Wednesday. The middle of the week, hump day, as it were. Hope everybody's having a good week thus far. We're back for more niche news. And as we wait for more people to show up, I'm gonna go ahead and go off camera here for a quick moment, take care of a couple things, and I will be right back. But while gone, of course, I'll put on some music. Right back. All right, so we're back. Back. Let's see, just waiting for see if anybody else shows up. As always, guys, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my abilities. So. Yeah, well, that up a little bit. So, anyways, we are just waiting on some more people. Let's see now. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. Find adventure that beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears. All right, well, we're coming up on 3 minutes here, so I guess I can go over what's on tap for tonight. So, got three articles to go over: two from Bounding into Comics and one from Bleeding Fool, including. So, Legendary Pictures and Netflix have teamed up to put out the first trailer for their upcoming animated series Skull Island, I believe. We'll be looking at that. Apparently, Jodie Benson, the original voice actress for Ariel in the original um, Little Mermaid animated movie from back in '89, has come out in support of the changes of the live action remake. Um, another one, another hero falls by the wayside. Somebody from Hollywood once again coming out to embrace the wokeism. And also from Bleeding Fool, of course, those two articles are from Bounding into Comics, but also from Bleeding Fool, once again, we'll be looking at Chris Braley's independent indie comic showcase. This week, he just has one book to go over, one artist to talk to, and that's Hans Schant. Of course, we read through Bounding into Comics article on this book last night. It's the Wise of Heart book. So now we're going to see what Chris Braley has to say about it, and to see what we can glean from the interview he did with Hans on that. Also, of course, for wrestling wrap up. Dynamite's going on tonight as AEW's preparing. As three major companies are preparing for this weekend, as they all have big events coming up this weekend. Friday night, of course, Impact Wrestling has its Under Siege event from London, Ontario, Canada. WWE has its Night of Champions event this Saturday from Saudi Arabia, and of course Sunday is Double or Nothing from Vegas for AEW. So, and of course, we'll talk a little bit more about those a little later in the wrestling wrap up. But with all that being said, now that we're coming up, now we're at 5.5 minutes. So why don't we go ahead and get started with and of course, don't forget the This Day in Each History segment as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started then on our coverage here. With that, all right. So now here we go. So here's the first article we're going to look at. Legendary Pictures and Netflix debut first trailer for Skull Island animated series. Article by John F. Trent, published yesterday. So here we go. Legendary Pictures and Netflix released the first trailer for their upcoming Skull Island animated series, as well as announcing the series' streaming release date. Here's a picture here. I guess it's coming. According to that, it's coming out June 22nd. Which I believe will be a Thursday, believe it or not. So, according to a press release from Legendary Pictures, the series, quote, takes viewers on a thrilling adventure as a group of kind-hearted explorers rescues Annie, who I guess is being voiced by Mae Whitman here, from the ocean, unaware that their act of heroism will lead them to the treacherous Skull Island. This enigmatic place is home to bizarre creatures and terrifying monsters, including the mighty Titan himself, Kong. Oh. When haven't we seen a big monkey, right? Big ape. As shown in the trailer, the series arrives on Netflix on June 22nd. It features the voice talents of Nicholas Cantu, who plays the protagonist Charlie. He's joined by Mae Whitman as Annie, and Darren Barnett as Mike. Other members of the voice cast include Benjamin Bratt as Cap, Benjamin Bratt of the first few seasons of Law and Order, and Betty Gilpin as Irene. Betty Gilpin. I wonder if she's any relation to Perry Gilpin. The series comes from the mind of Brian Duffield, who is credited with creating, writing, and executive producing the series Jacob Robinson. Brad Graber, Jen Chambers, and Thomas Tull also executive produced the series. The animation is done by Powerhouse Animation, the studio previously animated Castlevania and Blood of Zeus. And then here's, I guess, another picture or another screenshot of Skull Island right there. The series was originally announced back in January 2021, with Netflix revealing it was set in Legendary's Monsterverse, which includes 2014's Godzilla, 2017's Kong Skull Island, 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters, and 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong, and the upcoming Godzilla Kong The New Empire. It also is expected to include an upcoming Apple TV Plus series. Skull Island. Darren Bennett as Mike in Skull Island. Okay, so I guess that's just. Oh, what do you, oh, okay. I guess they just jammed a couple of things together there. I guess this is what they're saying is first part there was from that. Okay, what do you make the first teaser trailer for Skull Island? Interesting. Interesting. That one went pretty quick. So let's see now. All right, so now we'll get ready to move on to the next piece of next article here. Of course, release articles usually do go quickly because all it is just releasing information, and then once you have the information, you can decide for yourself how you feel about it. All right, so anyways, and we shall continue on here. All right, so original Ariel voice actor Jodie Benson supports Disney's changes to iconic The Little Mermaid songs. Um, in quote here, I guess this is her in her quotes, in her words. It's 2023, so we have to grow, we have to learn. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Jodie Benson, who voiced Ariel in the Walt Disney Company's The Little Mermaid in 1989, recently declared her support for the upcoming film's changes to iconic songs from the original animated film. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know there's been some hoopla about that. There's some people who are not happy with some of the changes they've made. Of course, there's always been talk about the race swapping of Ariel, but now with the songs. In an interview with Vanity Fair at the end of March, composer Alan Menken revealed he and the Walt Disney Company made changes to, quote, Kiss the Girl, unquote, and Poor Unfortunate Souls. Mencken explained not only that they made the changes, but why they made the changes, telling the outlet, quote, there are some lyric changes in, quote, Kiss the Girl, unquote, because people have gotten very sensitive about the idea that, in brackets here, Prince Eric would in any way force himself on, in brackets here, unquote. Well, that's kind of that's kind of stupid because we're talking about another we're talking about another time. First off, we're talking about fantasy. First off, second off, you know, they're getting overly sensitive about certain things like idea of forcing yourself on somebody. I mean, first off, the word itself has a much stronger connotation than sometimes is taken for. You know, you know. Now, granted, I know there's a lot more sensitivity because now we need to respect boundaries more in today's world than we did in the past. But still, there was a time when men were expected to take basically be a little bit more forward with how they felt in their actions. So you know, and it wasn't all, and depending upon how you did it too, it doesn't always necessarily mean it's a bad thing either. He added, quote, we have some revisions in, quote, poor unfortunate souls, unquote, regarding lines that might make young girls somehow feel that they shouldn't speak out of turn, even though Ursula is clearly manipulating Ariel to give up her voice, unquote. All right, I don't fully understand that, but then again, I never saw the original movie. Um, Mencken would also explain that he and Disney cut, quote, daughter. Now, this is the one that I think really did get a lot of heat here. This move right here. And Disney cut Daughters of Triton, from the live action film, explaining to comicbook.com, quote, I think the thought process was A, we didn't need in all right, they some typos here. We didn't need it in this particular version. They switched it and need around. They didn't need it in this particular version, and we definitely wanted the film to start with a much more of a live action feel of the ocean and meeting Ariel, and then we wait a little bit, make you wait until we get to in small quotes part of your world. And I think that was, it was an amazing choice because it just builds the power and anticipation, unquote. They did a little typo there. um, yeah. I don't understand the full significance of Daughters of Triton either, but again, don't think I really watched the movie too much. So, quote, and part of that is also knowing you're adapting something that's already beloved. So you want to say, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, and here it is. And when it comes, God, unquote, he elaborated. Again, though, here's the problem with making changes just to appease a world. One, you're trying to gain an audience by chucking the audience you already have. And two, as to the material itself, it's set in another time and place where things are different. Where what's considered right is different. So, I mean, now in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Benson voiced her support for the changes to quote unquote kiss the girl and quote unquote poor unfortunate souls. She told the outlet, quote, we're talking about starting our in brackets there voiceover sessions in 86 in brackets for the original film. It's 2023, so we have to grow, we have to learn, we have to be aware of our surroundings. Again, trying to make a simpler time more more acceptable to modern times is just a stupid idea. Okay. Quote, we've got to be aware of our growth as humans and what's important now and what maybe isn't as important, unquote, she said. Quote, things change. We've got to roll with that. I think that Rob and John have done a beautiful job of doing that and still paying tribute and honor to our original film. But you've got to have growth, unquote. Um okay, that the problem with that is again the problem is that you're basically trying to gain one audience by basically chucking another, and that's just not something gonna that's gonna take too kindly. You're gonna end up losing money that way. You think you're gonna end up losing money that way because you're chucking one audience for another. She continued to justify the changes, saying, quote, it's very important to stay relevant with where we are, what's going on around us. We need to be aware, so the adjustments and the fine tuning that they needed to do, it was a must. No, it wasn't, but it was done in a beautiful way, and I'm very, very thrilled with it. No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't necessary because the idea of entertainment is to help you get away from current world, not to sit there and be preached at or be reminded of all the negative aspects of a world. I mean, this whole idea of being woke is stupid. Okay. Let's see. Interestingly, Benson's comments and Disney's decision to edit the songs fly in the face of recent comments by director and producer Steven Spielberg at the 2023 Time 100 Summit. In that appearance, Spielberg was asked, quote, are there films you would edit that you would, looking back at them, something you would have done differently? I know at one point you took some guns out of E.T. and then regretted it, unquote. Spielberg answered, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I never should have done that because E.T. is a product of its era, and no film should be revised based on the lenses we now are either voluntarily or being forced to peer through, unquote. Wow. Very good point there, Stephen. Well, but E.T. was a film that I was sensitive to the fact that the federal agents were approaching a bunch of kids with their firearms exposed. And I thought I would change the guns into walkie talkies. But that was because years had gone by and I had changed my own views. I should have never have messed with the archive of my own work. He then advised, quote, and I don't recommend anybody really do that. All our movies are kind of a measuring, sort of a signpost of where we were when we made them and what the world was like, what the world was receiving when we got those stories, when we got those stories out, those, unquote. Okay, quote. So I really regret it that, unquote. He added, yeah, because basically, here's the thing. You can't whitewash history. I'm sorry, you can't whitewash history. You know, in many ways, you're spitting in the very face of the growth that we have. I know a lot of people, we talk, and of course, we talk about this a lot when we're, on Friday when we do the historical comic retrospect too, right? We look back and how people interact, in the comics, how they interacted with each other. Some of the things, we acknowledge that there are things that happened back then that would not be considered acceptable today, right? But the reason we still acknowledge them because we acknowledge one that yes, it's the behaviors were wrong. They were wrong then. They're wrong now. But also, it shows how much we've grown. Despite what a few very loud, what a very small loud minority is screaming, we have come a long way. Okay, this whole garbage of white privilege and all that's BS. Okay. If you want to like really quote talk about it, I'm technically classified as developmentally disabled. Okay, and yet there are people of color who have more money and resources than I do. Okay, there's no white privilege here. So I mean, this whole divisive attitude is stupid. You know, everybody's got their issues they got to deal with, but you deal with them. You don't just sit there and blame everybody else for your problems. You know. And continuing on here, Spielberg was then asked about the editing being down to works like Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and if his opinion applies across mediums. He responded, quote, nobody should ever attempt to take the chocolate out of Willy Wonka ever. And they shouldn't take the chocolate or the vanilla or any other flavor out of anything that has been written. I guess they forgot to put that in. For me, it is sacrosanct. It's something that is our history. It's our cultural heritage. Amen. Amen to that. When pressed if he would include the quote unquote warts and all, Spielberg replied, quote, "Yeah, I do not believe in censorship that way," unquote. What do you make of Benson coming out to the defense of Disney editing the songs for the upcoming live action The Mermaid? Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a wise idea. She's basically gonna alienate like half of her fans. I don't really believe it's a wise idea for any celebrity to really make their ideologies known, because it will have an effect on their relationship with their fans. People are not as likely to, if people feel that they don't share, you know people don't feel that they share certain viewpoints, they're not as likely to want to interact with her, because there's too much of a chance that a clash could come up, and nobody likes to clash with people that they want to spend time with or want to hang out with. So hey, so now let's go get on to the next article, the last article of the night, the Bleeding Fool article. It's in the one. Find my cursor here. All right. So, anyways, now we're gonna get into the Indie Comic Showcase article here. And tonight, Chris just doing one showcase here, one book, and it's one that we talked about last night as well. When I went over the Abounding in the Comics article over this, because there was some interesting aspects about it, in terms of how they were turning the whole debate over two genders, and the LGBTQIA. Excuse me. Anyways, let me go off camera here for a moment. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and again, as a reminder, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, let's continue on with this now. Getting into this. Indie Comic Showcase number 225, The Whys of Heart. Article by Chris Braley, published earlier today. Welcome back to another installment of Indie Comic Showcase. Let's see, time already at the 30-minute mark, okay. The weekly blog where we signal boost a few truly independent comics that are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just simply self-publishing on their own. Every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle, and of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. Which is what we do here as well. On Indie Comic Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the product for yourself. Let's see. Below, we have another outstanding crowdfunding campaign this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support it by backing. Thanks for checking it out and for being the best part of Indie Comics Showcase. Let's jump in. So here we go. All right, The Whys of Heart by Hans G. Schantz. All right, so Chris Braley, welcome to the weekly Indie Comic Showcase, Hans. Tell our readers your elevator pitch for The Whys of Heart. Hans Schantz. The Whys of Heart is an illustrated novel that reworks the story of the 100-year-old Scopes monkey trial amid today's transgender mania. A high school biology teacher agrees to participate in a court challenge to a law forbidding the teaching of biological science. In The Whys of Heart, the law isn't forbidding evolution, as in the original Scopes trial, but rather the teaching of the biology of sex determination in defiance of a state mandate for gender affirmation. Essentially, what they're saying is the biology teachers wanting to show you that there are only two genders. That's a fact, not the whole gender affirmation, gender identity baloney. The result is a deft and devastating satire that flips script on the original Scopes trial as depicted in movies like Inherit the Wind. The Whys of Heart includes about 250 pages of text with 15 black and white line drawings. Oh, there's the book right there. Based book. By Elin Chanty. So, Chris, tell me your inspiration for telling this story. Hans? The inspiration for the story came from watching Inherit the Wind. I realized the Scopes trial would make a great story if set in the present day, featuring a high school biology teacher caught up in the transgender craze, arrested for teaching the facts of biological science, in defiance of a state law requiring unquestioning gender affirmation. I turned off the movie and instead I hunted down the transcript for the Scopes trial and started reading. So here are some of the illustrations here. So here's some of the. And they even put in their proverb. We that troubleth, or he that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart. Chris, what kind of comic readers is this comic going to appeal to the most, do you think? The Wise of Heart is ideal for readers who enjoy courtroom drama full of political wrangling and scientific detail. So I guess he's with Law and Order, probably Law and Order feel to it. How do you like to create your stories, and who helped you tell this one? Hans, that was Chris, by the way. Hans, my style involves extensive research and real world detail, which I weave into my stories. I developed my style across three novels. The Wise of Heart is my fourth. I'm a scientist, inventor, and author, and The Wise of Heart is my fourth novel. Prior credits include science fiction alternate history techno thriller series The Hidden Truth, 15 black and white line drawings from illustrator Elin Chansey bring the story of The Wise of Heart to life. The story is currently being serialized on ArtTunes. I think it's supposed to say ArcTunes, not ArtTunes. ArcTunes and on Substack. Hmm. All right, so let's see. Continuing on here. Chris asked, what have you been learning from self publishing and what's up after this? Hot. Creating good stories is only half the work. The other half is promoting them and finding a receptive audience. The Wise of Heart is a standalone story. The next project is nonfiction, fields and energy, how electromagnetism and quantum mechanics work, and where physics went wrong. Chris, thanks for sharing this with us, Hans, and congrats on hitting your funding goal as well. Thanks for the opportunity to share the story behind the Wise of Heart. All right, so that's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign or have a comic available for purchase online you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here and follow Indie Comic Showcase on Twitter at at Indie Comics, and reach out to them for more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Till next time, support Indie Comics. Oh, there we go with that one. Alrighty then. So let's see. We're now at 39 minutes here, so we did a pretty good job there. So now that we're done with all that, of course, now go on to talking a bit about what's going on to some wrestling, wrestling news, wrestling wrap up. So basically, let's see. So as I was saying earlier, of course, got some big events coming up this weekend. Friday, Impact Wrestling will have Under Siege event. Saturday, WWE will have its Night of Champions event from Saudi Arabia. Of course, the Impact event will be in London, Ontario, Canada. And on Sunday, you have AEW giving us Double or Nothing from Las Vegas for the MGM Grand. Of course, AEW is in Vegas tonight for Dynamite. So the matches for tonight's show will include for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles, the champions Lucha Brothers, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Rey Fenix defend against the Blackpool Combat Club members of Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Now, this match was set up a couple weeks ago when Claudio defeated Rey Fenix in a one-on-one in a double Jeopardy match. The winner getting a future title shot at the loser's title. You also have the House of Black defending the trios title, AEW trios title against Blake Christian, AR Fox, and Metallic. Orange Cassidy defend the international title versus Kyle Fletcher in preparation for this Sunday's 21-man Battle Royal title defense at this Sunday's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. In a tune-up match for her heading into Sunday as she prepares to go after Jade Cargill one more time for the TBS title. Taya Valkyrie will be taking on Lady Frost. And Roderick Strong, in preparation for his unsanctioned match, tonight being the contract signing as well for that with Chris Jericho, he'll be taking on Daniel Garcia. And I'll be, of course, giving you guys the results of all that tomorrow. Also, we'll be hearing from the Four Pillars. We'll be involved in the four-way match for the AEW World Titles. MJF, the current AEW World Champion, will be defending the AEW World Title against the three other pillars. Maybe the four guys who they believe are basically the cornerstones of AEW. Darby, MJ will be defending against Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. We'll be hearing from all four of those guys tonight. Also, let's see. Also, some other interesting news that happened over the past couple of days here. First off, Alicia Fox had recently been released from the WWE, and she's of course taking independent booking. She has put it out there that she might, she hasn't officially signed with any other organizations yet, but she's right now currently back in Houston training with Booker T at his school, in preparation to go back out on the road again. She's put out feelers out there to maybe join Trinity in TNA and maybe work a program with her, or with Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, in Japan. So she's put feelers out there for wanting to possibly work with either one of those people as well. And Goldberg had an interesting injury that happened on his farm recently, as he apparently headbutted a tractor and sliced his head open. Apparently, he put up a picture of that. So, anyways, guys, that's all I got for the wrestling wrap up. Tomorrow, of course, we'll talk about the results from tonight's Dynamite, as well as talk about what's going on, for tomorrow night's Impact Wrestling, as they prepare, as it's the last show before the Under Siege event. We'll talk more about what's going on at Under Siege as well, the wrestling wrap-up side of it, along with other niche news. So now I think it'd be a good time to start to wrap things up as we get into as today being Wednesday, May 24th, 2022. And take a look back at this day. Niche history. Let me just 1973, and 2003. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. First off, we're going to head back 50 years ago, as on this date, 50 years ago today, back in 1973. On this date in 1973, from Kansas City, Missouri, Harley Race would win his first of, I think, 8 reigns as NWA World Heavyweight Champion when he defeated Dory Funk Jr. in a show in Kansas City. So on this date, back in 1973, 50 years ago today, Harley Race wins his first NWA World Heavyweight Championship, the first of 8 he would have during his career. So it happened on this date back in 1973. Of course, ending Dory Funk Jr.'s 4-year reign as champion. Now getting ready to move on to, let's see, the next piece of Nietzsche history here. On this date in 2003, 20 years ago today, HBO Family's Stuart Little, the animated Stuart Little TV series from HBO Family, was canceled on this date back in 2003. So 20 years ago today, the Stuart Little animated series from HBO Family was canceled on this date back in 2003. And now, as we move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history, get ready to move on to that. On this date, 6 years ago today, back in 2017, the 15th issue of Beauty from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2017. So 6 years ago today, 15th issue of Beauty from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2017. It sold for $3.99 and was 28 pages. So with that, so now as we wrap up here, remind everybody, of course, we'll be back here tomorrow night for more Nietzsche news. Also, don't forget Friday night, R.J. Carter from Critical Blast will be joining me as we will be continuing our look back to October 1939. Comics went on sale. This week we'll be focusing in on Fox Feature Syndicate. We'll be focusing in on Fantastic Comics #1, which of course from the Fox set of heroes included, of course, Samson, the hero Samson, as well as Stardust, the super wizard. Of course, we'll also probably be finishing up with Blue Beetle as well. Towards the end of the night. So I'm sure you all will enjoy that. Also, like I said, don't forget to come back here tomorrow night as we'll have more Nietzsche news, covering more in the world of Nietzsche. Let's see. Let's see now. So, and I do thank you all for being here. As always, I hope you guys, when you're watching this, always remember that you can always help out by liking, sharing the stream, seeing if we can get more friendly people on here. Also, if anything that we talk about during the show just grabs your attention, always feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, I thank you all for being here tonight, and I shall bid you all adieu. Bye.